Welcome, everybody, to the Real Estate Agent Mastermind Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Cafarella. I've got a great guest on the show today, Matt Quinlan. Matt, what's going on today?
How you doing? Doing well.
Awesome. And you're over where? In North Reading, you said, right now?
Correct.
Or
Yep.
you're working on some deals in North Reading, or both?
Yeah, so I work for Classified Realty Group, which is a growing company. We've got 3 offices, an office in North Reading, an office in Reading, and an office in Wakefield.
Awesome. Is that where you started, or did you head over there after a period of time?
No, that's where I started. I was directed here by another company. I went and interviewed, and I was teaching phys ed part-time, and the other company said, well, we don't really have a space for part-time agents. And they said, you should go talk to Maureen Giuliano at Classified Realty Group. And I did, and it was the best decision I made.
Interesting. So we've got a lot of people in Massachusetts that are interested in getting into this business and getting into it part-time. A lot of people who get into it part-time never make the transition. Can you tell us a little bit about what that kind of journey was like from going from being part-time to going full-time?
I think it's hard to get started in this business. I think there's a pretty big span of time before you close your first house.
Yep.
That first year, I don't really count it as a first year. I was still coaching volleyball, food club stuff, traveling all spring. And I think I sold 2 houses that first year doing it. Mm-hmm. One of them was my own.
Yep.
And then the next year I took off and I sold 11 the next year. But I think you've got to commit to it. You've got to get in there. You've got to learn the business. I've sold 100 plus houses now in my time doing it. And every time, even now, I'm still coming across things that are different, things that I've never come across before. And so I think you just have to get out there and volunteer, help the other agents in your office. What can I do? What can I do? How can I learn, suck it up, and soak in every opportunity to learn, so that you are more confident when you get out there and actually start doing it yourself.
So when you first joined, was your goal to become full-time, or do you think this is going to be a part-time thing? You sell 2 to 4 houses a year type of deal?
The goal was to be a full-time. I was teaching full-time in Lawrence initially. I got a phys ed job in North Reading, but it was a part-time job. So at first I was thinking, well, how do I fill that time? My wife was working sales at Yale Appliance and Lighting and doing weekends, Saturday, Sunday, every weekend. I was like, well, why not? I enjoy this. I like people. I was attending open houses just to be the nosy neighbor and go through and check them out prior to starting real estate. So I thought it would be a pretty cool opportunity.
Okay. So year one, were you really trying, or was it just kind of like, you're getting through year one and then year two, you were gonna jump more into it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was coaching a travel volleyball team that we went to all over the East Coast. So I was gone every weekend. And if you're gone in the spring during the weekend, it doesn't really bode well for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the first year I was getting my feet wet, learning, doing some of that stuff while keeping busy everywhere else.
So was year 2 when you actually went full-time, or were you still part-time at that point?
No, just a couple of years later, really doing the big push. Actually, I still do teach phys ed part-time.
Which means what? How many hours a week?
What is the average? Technically 4 days at school, but you break it down, I think it's 6 hours a day or something like that. So I get out early every day. I spread my 4 days over. Mm-hmm. So I just have to be there in the morning. Most real estate people they're not seeing houses till the evening. I have some time in the middle where I can do my paperwork, my follow-up, all of my office work, and then still have plenty of opportunity to get out and show the houses on evenings and weekends when the buyers are available to see the house.
So you went from 2 deals to 11 from year 1 to year 2. What was the major reason for the big volume increase?
Open houses. I volunteered for every open house I could. And I think I was able to, I had that 30-second commercial for myself down real quick when people came in, give them some confidence, show them that you're smart, but don't push too much. People want to see the house. They don't really want to talk to you.
What does your
And
30-second commercial sound like?
oh man.
Roughly.
I mean, it's just a quick, hey, how are you? I'm Matt. You go in and just give them some details on the house real quick. And hey, let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to answer. And then just you wait for that opportunity in conversation for them to draw you back in. And then they've opened the door for you to walk through and have further conversations with them.
So how many, in year 2, how many open houses do you think you work? Do you work every weekend or every other weekend? Like going back, what did it kind of look like?
Yeah, I mean, it was every weekend. Like I said, my wife was doing sales. I didn't have kids yet. And so it was every weekend, as many as I could do. The Saturday, Sunday open houses weren't huge yet like they are now. So it was, two a weekend.
Okay. So out of the 11 transactions that you did, how many of them do you think open houses were responsible for?
Probably a large majority of them. I mean, I'd say at least half of them, if not more.
What did you do? Did you just approach the agents in your office and say, let me work your open houses type thing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
So
do you need help? Do you need help this weekend with open houses? And I'm available. I'd love to do it.
What year was this?
2011.
Okay. So people, not too long ago, so people still say today that you can't get buyers from open houses. Everybody has an agent, right?
Mm-hmm. It's harder. It's certainly harder.
Has it changed since then, do you think?
I think a combination of a lot more people do have agents, but also I think the masses, instead of having 11 people come through a 2-hour window where you have a little bit more personal interactions, I think you have a lot more, you have 50 people coming through in 2 hours, and it's hard to give someone the attention to show them that you want to work with them while also tending to everybody else. So I think that's probably one of the struggles of the open house part, now. But I think it's probably a lot follow-up too.
Yeah.
There's a lot more follow-up to do. So are you doing the follow-up from the open house that you did when there was only 11 people coming through?
So you went from 2 transactions to 11 transactions in year 2. What did it look like in year 3?
17.
17, and then year 4.
17, 24, 23.
So pretty much like a gradual increase over the course of time.
Yep.
So year 1, you were kind of just getting your feet wet. You were learning. You were educating yourself on the process. Year 2, you started to put in more effort. You're working open houses. You effectively doubled again within the next couple of years. Was that still more open houses, or what did that kind of look like for you?
I think as you get into it a little bit longer, now your friends and your closer circle start to trust you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think in a world of Facebook sales and all the different programs that everyone's jumping in looking for the quick buck, people, I think, sometimes associate real estate with that. How many people have you talked to that say, oh yeah, when I was younger, I got my real estate license and I just never did anything with it. Like everyone says, I'm going to get my real estate license, but how many people actually stick through with it? How many people last longer than a year or two?
I think the fallout is over 90%.
Yeah, it's incredible.
In year 1. And, there's a lot of different reasons for that. But, I mean, a lot of people won't even volunteer to do those open houses. So I've got a brokerage. I've got 230 real estate agents. And I fix and flip over 100 houses a year. And we don't want to do our open houses because we're not really necessarily looking for buyers. And sometimes it can even be difficult with 230 agents to get people that want to work them.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy. I mean, so you definitely dedicated the time. Over the next couple of years, you started to kind of get your name out there and all that good stuff. At that point, did you have any other lead generation funnels or anything like that? Have you ever spent money on marketing, or has it all been through, sphere of influence and working open houses?
I think the biggest two were open houses and Facebook, social media stuff. It's incredible. I ran into a high school friend 10 years later at Market Basket, and and she's like, wow, Matt, real estate's going great for you. I'm like, I haven't talked to you in 10 years. Like, it's
Yep.
incredible that people are still connected through those sites. So I think,
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I mean, I do videos almost every single day purposely for that exact reason. And it's amazing I mean, people want to look at what you're doing.
right.
They want to know what you're up to. They want to know what you're doing. So talk about how you're using social media. What are you doing to get them to know that you're in real estate? Because I think one of the mistakes that people make is that sometimes their friends forget they're in real estate because they're not kind of keeping in front of them. So what are you doing with social media in order to make sure you're top of mind?
So I think as far as the real estate stuff goes, I've also just started doing some of the videos. Ironically, the video that I get commented on most is the video of the blooper reel that I put together.
Yep.
People they're like, Matt, that was the funniest thing. Like, you're ridiculous. I can't believe you actually stood out in front of your house for an hour trying to do this 2-minute video. And
Was
was
it?
more.
Oh, you're saying so you were trying to shoot a real video and then you just cut up, the bad parts?
Yeah, it took me like 58 takes to
Yep.
get this stupid video. And even the one that I did, that it was still funny and it was still good, and I got my point across. But the most reaction I've got was the bloopers. I think people appreciate when you put yourself out there, and it's not all scripted and rigid and robotic. They want to know you're real.
People don't like scripted for sure, especially with Facebook stuff. I mean, sometimes I can go the opposite way where I am a little bit too scripted, but people don't want that. They want to see you mess up, like you kind of alluded to.
Right.
So you're doing some video stuff. What else are you doing?
I think just being active on there so that you're popping up, and I think they want to see. I have really cute kids. They like seeing the cute kids, and I have a 2-month-old, and newest addition to the Quinlan Realty team, and made that post on there. I think that was probably my most liked post because it's a cute baby picture and everybody loves it. But I still got out there that hey, the real estate team, and my assistant turned 3 a couple months ago, kind of things like that. Just little quirky, real life. This is what's going on in Matt Quinlan's world.
All right, let's see what you actually have. I'm going to go on your page right now.
Oh,
all right, let's see. All right. You don't need to buy a house to support my business. Okay, so this is what, March 26th, so 3 days ago. You're posting something about real estate and then going back. Okay, property sold. So do you post every single property that you sold?
Yep. So the website that I use, it's got a social media package. So they'll send weekly blogs, and then they'll also, anytime there's a transaction, they'll post that as well.
This happens automatically?
That's an automatic thing. And then I also have a blog control that I can add a blog to the site myself.
Okay, so what does that cost you to have that done automatically?
$100 a month is the whole website and social media package.
Regardless of how many properties you sell?
Yep, that's it.
How do they know when you sold something?
They have their IDX. They pop up. So all my listings, all the office listings are on the website as well.
Yep. And how much does that cost?
$100 a month, $99 a month.
What's the name of the program?
RLS 2000. I think
RLS 2000.
Changed Elm Street. I think
RLS 2000?
Yep.
That is definitely a good deal right there.
Yeah.
For sure, because I know for me, I mean, I have to really be diligent about what I'm posting and making sure that I'm posting. The fact that it happens automatically. And so I'm just reading here, you've got let me see what, another one sold, name of the property, the addressing, all that good stuff. So do they putting anything personalized, or is it totally generic?
It's pretty generic. I mean,
which is fine. I mean,
yeah. Okay. And they'll put open houses. Open houses get thrown up there as well.
Okay.
If it's an open house on your listing.
That also gets posted through the feed automatically?
Correct.
Interesting. All right, good deal. So you built up your sphere a little bit. You effectively, from year 2, you've doubled. What's kind of on the horizon for you? Like, what's the plan over the next 2 to 3 years to build your business?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I have 3 kids. When my first was born, my wife,
How old are they?
my oldest son is 5, my daughter is 3, and my youngest son is 2 months.
So I've got a 5-year-old daughter, 1.5-year-old son, 6-month-old son.
There you go.
So
Same spot.
almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
How
It's
bad is it?
fun. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
it's
building an
fun.
office in my garage at home right now because I need to close a door.
Yeah. Do you work from home a lot?
I try to. I mean, it's obviously there's a lot going on with 3 kids at home. So, and when you're out during mealtime and on weekends and stuff like that, you try and be home and helpful as much as you can be.
And your wife also works with you, right?
She does. She
So
does.
what role does she have?
Right now, with the 3 kids at home, she's kind of the filler. So if my appointments get overbooked or I can't make something, then she'll fill in for me there.
Hmm.
Um, and then, I think eventually she'll play a bigger part in
Yep.
that. But I like people a lot more than she does. Not that she doesn't. I like people a lot more. So I don't
Right.
mind spending the time on the phone and building those relationships.
So effectively, you're almost treating her like a team member would. You're almost like the rainmaker, and then, the overflow goes to her, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. So what does your kind of vision look like over the next 2 or 3 years?
Um, yeah, I think right now it's still getting some of those daily routines because I have had a lot of success, but it gets overwhelming. You've got a lot of organizational pieces that fall out of place, and so I think I'm trying to start to put some of the daily routines in place, start building a little bit more of my protocol. So as
Mhm.
far as getting the agency disclosure form in people's hands right away, I just made up a little video that I can send to people. So what's next? Hey, it's nice to meet you. Online or whatever, however I met them in an email, a lead, online lead. This is who I am. Here's my real face, not just a phone number.
Mhm.
And I'm going to send you this form that Massachusetts requires me to send you. I want you to
Mhm.
be able to review it before I throw a paper in front of your face as soon as I meet you, because we all know how fun it is to get a signature from somebody when they don't know who you are.
Yep. So have you ever thought about hiring an admin?
It's been something, I've started to think a little bit more about it. I heard some of your other podcasts, people were talking about building those teams. I think it's something that is interesting for me. I haven't quite gotten into it enough and enough about how to do that.
Yep. Well, I think so. Do you have at your office, do you have a transaction coordinator or a listing coordinator that helps you with some of the stuff?
We do. We do.
And do you take advantage of that?
I do.
So tell the people that are listening kind of what that looks like for you.
Yeah. I think the simple stuff, the drafting, the purchase and sales, ordering the final water reading, electric reading, things like that are automatically done through the admin at our office.
Hmm.
Which again, if you can take some of those little details that don't necessarily need you to do them, I think it makes your life so much easier, and you can spend more time making money and not the little details.
That makes sense. So what does your day-to-day look like right now, typically?
Yeah. So I do the phys ed. I get that done in the mornings, early afternoon at the latest. Head to the office, go through my contact management systems and look at my job, my tasks for the day, my follow-up, my phone calls, check the MLS obviously multiple times a day, kind of in the morning before I head out the door, and then again in the afternoon as soon as I'm out, check that, send it along to the people that I need to.
Yep.
Appointments in the evenings when they're available. A lot of stuff is open houses, first showings at open houses. So just lining that up and making sure people have the information that they need.
So what does your business look like between the buy side and the sell side? Are you more working with buyers typically 50-50? What does it kind of look like? And do you have kind of a target for that of where you want that to move?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably about 50-50, maybe a little heavier on the buy side.
Okay.
But ideally, I mean, the listings are definitely great to have, especially in this market. The sellers, The buyers are hard. You got 12 offers with one buyer because it's hard to get those offers accepted. You go 30 over, you waive some contingencies, and somebody else has lost out on a couple more than you and is willing to go a little bit further.
So talk about that. I mean, some people won't even work with buyers in this market. So
right.
you have any sort of effective strategies that you're utilizing to, do you really screen the buyers that you're going to work with to make sure they're buying? Do you have ways to leverage your time, or what's your kind of take on getting those type of deals done?
I mean, I'm really focused on that customer service side of it, and I think setting the expectations for the buyers right up front are important in this market. As far as the screen the buyers,
Well, what does that look like? You talking about expectations?
yeah, setting expectations. All right, so like ultimately, at the end of the day, I want my buyers to be comfortable. It's a really uncomfortable thing buying homes in this market, and so as much as I can do to set realistic expectations for them, again, I would say as a professional that you should have a home inspection, but I have to tell you that there are people out there who are going to waive their home inspections, and that's something you're going to be up against. So put that information in their hands right away so that they can do their due diligence and they can talk to Uncle Contractor and find out, hey, can you come look at these houses with me? Or, find out the strategy that's going to help them compete in that market. The price point. I can give you a market analysis, but I can guarantee you that someone's going to go crazy in this market and give an offer over. I want you to put your head on your pillow at night. So do your numbers, get your mortgage, talk to the mortgage guy, run the numbers, figure everything out, put your best foot forward. If you get the house, great. You're happy with the house, you're excited for the house. If you don't get it, you didn't want to pay $1 more, and so you don't have any of that regret or that, that
That's kind of my take on it. I always look at it like, if it's the house you want to buy, to me, I don't want to say price is irrelevant, but at the end of the day, 20, 30 years from now, you're not going to be looking back on that price, right? If it's not the house, you don't want to overpay anyways. I mean, that's just my personal take on it. But I mean, the market obviously is so hot right now. It's crazy. So how has that kind of changed? You got into the business in 2011, 2012. You were working with a lot of buyers. How was it different back then?
I mean, it was a lot easier right up front to set up those appointments because now we get, big leads from the big box websites and the property's under agreement already by the time you get the lead.
Yep.
And there's no bait and switch. You don't have this other listing that you can say, hey, I know this one went under agreement, but why don't we go check out these 3 or 4 other ones? So I think it's a lot harder to get in front of the buyer. So I think you need to do some of these videos. I think you need to do some of the coffee dates to kind of set up that face-to-face meeting and build that rapport with the client.
So when you get the ability to work with a buyer, are you doing a face-to-face first, or are you taking them to a property first typically? I know people have different kind of, takes on that.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. Obviously, if the house is available, you want to get them in the house because things move pretty quickly.
Yep.
But if it's one of those opportunities where the house is not available, then I think it's worth it to try and get that coffee meeting, and that way you can try and show them your value and show them what you bring to the table as a real estate agent, as opposed to just clicking, get more information online from somebody new.
So are you a proponent of buyer broker agreements or no?
I think I should be. I don't think I've had someone sign one yet. I'm doing my job, and hopefully you understand that and see that. But I think it's getting more important now because of the way the market's going and how hungry the buyers are.
Have you ever had any issues with it so far?
That
you know of?
Early on, ironically, you would think early on I would probably have gotten better into it. I worked with a friend for about 10 months, and then Dad came in and offered a down payment and some other stuff and said, you got to work with my agent. And that was kind of demoralizing at that point, early on when you still take everything so personal and things like that. But, that's really been it on that side of it.
So what's the biggest piece of advice you could give to people that are kind of in year one of the business?
Follow up. Really make sure you keep yourself in front of the clients.
Hmm.
In a world where it's so easy to get that listing in front of you online, I think you need to send it to them first.
Hmm.
You need to be that active on the MLS so that when things are coming up, you're the reason that they're getting them.
So when you say follow up, so how would you get clients on day one now? Would you go through the same exact thing where you're going to be working open houses, or would you use a different strategy now that it's 2018?
Hmm. Um, I think it's still important to do those open houses. There are still people there, and I think you got to figure out what's that follow up, what's that next day. Like I know when you have 50 people through, I just did a video at the end of my open house. Thanks for coming through my open house. I was in the family room of the house. That
Hmm.
was definitely the selling feature of the home.
Hmm.
So I reminded the people of my house. I showed them why they loved the house, and just put my face back in front of them to say, hey, if you have any information or you have any questions or you're looking for any information, offer deadline is Tuesday at noon. Let me know. And so I sent that email out to everyone that came through the open house.
So one thing that you mentioned before we hopped on live was you were talking about kind of going into a different niche, and you've been working on a 55 plus niche. What got you interested in doing that, and what does that kind of look like for you now?
Yeah, I think it's a great niche. I think there's a lot of people that are downsizing at this point. I think the rest of the world has way better 55 and older communities than we do up here, but
Yep.
we're working on it. There's a few good ones. There's a couple Toll Brothers communities, a couple Pulte communities, a couple small local builders that are putting up some nice 55 and olders. I think the greatest thing is they've lived in their house for 40 years. They loved it, but now it's time to enjoy retirement. It's time to, they paid $18,000 for their house 30 years ago, and now they're selling it for 6 or 7, and they can really kind of treat themselves to something nice. And so it's a lot of fun. I think it's really enjoyable. I think they enjoy the process. We enjoy the process as the real estate agent.
So what are you doing? Are you doing anything specifically to provide additional services to them or to market to get in front of these particular people?
So there's a online 55places.com is a website that I got in touch with.
Yep.
Actually, they got in touch with me. Funny story to talk about follow up. So she sent out 30 inquiries through Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com to different agents in the area, and she was looking for a phone call and an email response. She had 4 agents that emailed and called that lead. That's 26 agents that got the lead and did nothing with it.
It's crazy. It's really crazy that people pay for leads. So when you're talking about those leads, are you buying Zillow and Trulia right now?
Uh, my office sends them along.
Oh,
So,
okay, so you get some individual leads from your office.
yes.
Okay.
And then the 55 places, they send leads through them, but that's kind of a individual partnership agreement.
Makes sense. Do you have any tips for real estate agents on getting referrals?
Hmm. I think, yeah, again, staying in front of your friends, staying in front of your sphere, and making sure that they know you're there. One of the things I was just, you commented on one of the posts there, but that little post says, hey, you don't have to share, you don't have to be purchasing a house to help out my business. I mean, you can just share my post, you can share my information, you can help your friends realize that you know a really great real estate agent as well.
Hmm.
Because it's such a private transaction, it's a private deal that a lot of times by the time you find out your friends are selling their house, they already have something under agreement. So you
Hmm.
miss that opportunity for the referral.
Yep. So do you have any specific systems that you're using right now in order to stay in touch with people outside of Facebook, or do you think Facebook is the number one and that's really your biggest area of focus?
That's where I've spent a lot of my focus.
Yep.
Um, you get the Red Sox calendars and other things like that I think everybody does at the beginning of the year. So I don't know how much it helps you stand out.
Yeah.
You have to be the first one, right? Because the other ones just go in the trash.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could maybe do something that isn't related to that, and have it come at a different time frame or something.
That's true.
But cool. So again, your plan over the next couple of years is what?
Yeah, I think I'm looking to build, keep growing. Kind of, my son's starting kindergarten next year, so my wife will start having a little bit more opportunity to take on some more
Yeah.
roles. I think that will help. So seeing how that keeps going, and then ideally, I think it'd be nice to kind of maybe get more of a personal admin setup.
To leverage your time out.
Yeah, to do a little bit more of the follow up and a little bit more of the emails and things that don't necessarily need to have my voice in them.
Yeah.
You can do the posts and you can do the blogs and you can kind of work on some of the video editing and all the other stuff like that. Although I think that's fun. I enjoy that a little bit.
It's fun, but is it the highest and best use of your time?
That's true. That's true. That's a good point.
At the end of the day, right? So I mean,
Someone else can do it just as good as me, right?
so someone can probably do that just as good as you, but they might not be able to do some of the sales side, right?
Yeah.
Because that's probably the highest and best use is you meeting with new people all the time. So any last piece of advice for anybody that's listening?
I think it's important to focus on customer service rather than sales. I mentioned to you earlier, the sales part is really just selling yourself and making sure that you're telling people what a great real estate agent, or showing them, not telling them, showing them what a great real estate agent you are. But focus on the customer service. Because I can't sell a house. If I sell you a house, you're going to be pretty, and you don't want it or you didn't like it. That doesn't bode well for my future.
Yeah.
Focus on the client and getting them the information and the opportunities that they need.
Awesome. I want to thank Matt Quinlan for joining us today. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yep,
You have a fairly easy last name, so I don't think I can screw that one up.
No.
This is Tom Cafarella from the Massachusetts Real Estate Agent Mastermind Podcast. I will see everybody in just a couple weeks. Thanks.